So if you've been struggling with insomnia for years or maybe even decades, and each night it feels like you're getting 1 or 2 or 3 hours worth of sleep, it makes sense that you're probably feeling very frustrated and angry. Like especially when you hear someone like me talk about treating insomnia and talking about like how these strategies are helpful, when you might have tried some of these strategies in one way, shape, or form and it hasn't worked for you, it feels almost invalidating to have some dude with random degrees say, I can help you when you're like, dude, no, you can't. Like that makes perfect sense. And I do want to reiterate, if you have struggled with insomnia for a long time and you've tried so many different things, it makes perfect sense that you're feeling like a little offended that some dude is randomly saying all this stuff to you that, something could be helpful. And when I think about cognitive therapy, a lot of cognitive therapists kind of think about challenging a person's thought. Like, this thought is not valid and we need to like examine the evidence and like make sure that that you're not actually broken or, we can actually solve your sleep problems. And although I think that can be a fair approach for some people, I actually don't think this is necessarily true for all people. That for some people, maybe it makes very good sense that their thought is true, and we don't necessarily want to try and change it when it's potentially a true thought, or at the very least, it's invalidating to try and say otherwise. And this is where I get into sort of the considerations of validity versus utility. So when I think about validity, certain thoughts may be very valid to have, or and maybe even true. At the same time, we need to think about and consider their utility. Is it helpful for me to have this thought? Like, is it helpful for me to have the thought that you can't help me? There's nothing that can be done because there's just something in my brain that's permanently broken, or there's something special about my sleep and my sleep problem that, other people don't understand and they won't be able to do anything about it. When we think about those types of thoughts, is it particularly helpful? And whether these thoughts are helpful from a utility perspective kind of depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to find some sort of sleep solution for your problem, then having the thought that none of this is going to work, this guy is stupid, he doesn't understand anything about my sleep problems, aren't particularly useful from the willingness and curiosity to try out these strategies in earnest, right? On the other hand, if your goal is to say, you know what, like I've been burned way too many times, I don't think this is gonna work, what's the point of doing it, getting my hopes up and then getting burned again, like I don't want to go through all that again. In that case, the thought of like, this isn't going to be helpful, I'm just going to get out of here, makes perfect sense. So I totally get the frustration of struggling with insomnia problems for so long and in such a severe way where it feels like you're getting 1 or 2 hours every night in perpetuity, that when someone tells you, oh, just, lie there and try not to think about it or use a relaxation tape, that it can be so invalidating. And to understand how this perspective of like nobody can help me, that my sleep problems are so bad that there's no solution out there that will work, this is all bunk and it's stupid, that in and of itself is not a particularly helpful or effective way of thinking in sort of engaging with potential future opportunities or future strategies that might have some benefit if we were to take a bit of an open mind. If you are interested in learning more of how you can apply these CBTI strategies into your life, I have a free self-help guide that I'm putting into the link in the description below, as well as for my book, The Insomnia Paradox, if you want to learn a little bit more about how to become your own insomnia therapist and make some movement towards your ultimate sleep goal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.